Hello, good afternoon. Can y'all hear me in the back? Yeah. Shout out to about 150 UVA law students in the back. My name is Thomas Frampton. I'm a professor at UVA School of Law, and I'm honored and proud to be joining all of you here today. I apologize, I'm much more comfortable in front of a lectern than in front of a large rally, but I've been asked to say a few words about Mahmoud Khalil's case and the legal framework that we are operating in. And I want to talk a little bit about a class that I teach on political prisoners. And I want to finish by saying just a few words about the moment that we are entering into. So, just so that we're all on the same page, Khalil is a lawful permanent resident, a green card holder, who is now being held in a detention facility in Louisiana as the United States government seeks to remove him from the country. The government is seeking to remove him under a provision of the Immigration and Nationality Act that allows one person, Marco Rubio, to declare that somebody's mere presence in the United States constitutes a potentially serious adverse policy consequence, and to remove them regardless of whether they have a green card or whatever their status might be. I should say that it purports to allow that, because in this last 70 years since this law has been on the books, it has been used once, or attempted to be used just once. And it was a case that a radical leftist judge struck it down as unconstitutional. That judge was Judge Trump, the sister of President Trump in the 1990s. It's important to realize that there is at least some semblance of a legal argument here, though, that the government is relying upon, as there are many other obscure provisions that, read in a particular way, might give the government incredible power to enact violence on marginalized communities and the enemies of the state, as they see it. So we're entering into a pretty dark moment. So that's the legal framework that we are operating in. And there are going to be lawyers in the courtroom who are fighting for Khalil's release, for his bail, pending the adjudication of whether this statute can be used, and to challenge the constitutionality of the law in the first place. But I want to step back for a second and focus on that first line of that letter that we heard read, where Khalil identifies himself as a political prisoner. I teach a class at the law school on political prisoners. And the idea of a political prisoner does not actually exist in American law. There's no such thing as a legal category of a political prisoner. It exists from NGOs and in international human rights law. Activists have used it. By pretty much any definition, and there's no real consensus about what the definition is. Some definitions of political prisoner focus on the motivations of the individual who is detained and their political commitments. Some definitions focus on the motivations of the state actors who have deprived them of their liberty and why they are doing it. Some definitions focus on neither of those things and focus on the political consciousness and the organizing of the individual who is detained. But pretty much by any definition that we can think of, I think Mahmoud Khalil fits the definition of a political prisoner in America in 2025. Political prisoners is, I think, something that most Americans associate with autocratic regimes far away, or darker moments in our own history. And I think it's important for all of us to face facts that right now in 2025 in the United States, we have not only political prisoners, and I suspect we will have many more, but we have our own universities standing by and either acquiescing or cheering on those activities. We are all clear-eyed about that reality. So that brings us to the final point, which is What are we going to do moving forward? The reality is, I have a lot of faith in some lawyers and some judges. I have a lot of faith in the hundreds of plus UVA law students that came out to fight in court. To defend not only the First Amendment, to defend trans folks who are being under attack. Push back about the authoritarian and racist creep that we are headed toward. But the reality is, it's not going to be the lawyers who do it, y'all. Khalil is being kept right now in a small town called Gina, Louisiana. I used to practice as a criminal defense attorney in Louisiana. And if you've ever heard of that town before, it's likely because in 2006, a group of black teenagers got into a fight with a group of white kids at a school and were charged with attempted murder. In this tiny little town of Gina, Louisiana, there were civil rights rallies of 15 and 20,000 people. Became an international cause celeb to fight back against what was attempted to be a judicial lynching and to save those youth. We're at another moment where it's going to be us who keep each other safe. Woo! It's going to be us when the Trump administration tweets out a picture of Khalil saying Shalom Mahmoud. Weaponizing the identity of Jewish professors like me and of Jewish people across the country and the threat of anti-Semitism as a fig leaf to advance their Sieg-Heilian agenda. My colleagues say that's not acceptable anymore. I have colleagues here, people on the UVA faculty, who are not here today at this rally, who are here in spirit and in heart, but who are frankly freaked out. But the idea that their face could get on a picture and that they would be removed from the country. We are going to have to do a heck of a lot more. But on the one hand, I have to thank all of you because what we are doing today is the start of that. And if there's one silver lining into what the Trump administration is doing, it's helping all of us recognize that the fight for a free Palestine and the fight for trans kids and the fight to defend any type of anti-racist activity in this country is one and the same.